sa mahako sa imo o kung mauyat sa imo kamot, malisensya sa anay sa akon kag kay nanay mo.
Brandan is about to arrive in the Philippines, but unbeknown to him, Mary's conservative grandparents have forbidden her from hugging him, touching him, or kissing him. They expect Brandan to ask their permission first. The thing is, Mary and Brandan don't exactly seem like the type that follow the rules, and that is going to cause a lot of problems.
So amazing kissing someone you love.
Pissing off her grandparents? I'm not sure that's an excellent way to start your lives together. But before we get into that mess, we left Brandan in the last episode on his way to the Philippines, but Mary was having a breakdown about him sitting next to a woman on the plane. The worrying thing is, when we join her in this episode, she can't see anything wrong with the way she reacted.
He said he won't be sitting with girls or anyone, but girls sitting next to him, so I have the reason to get mad.
Now, we know that Mary has some serious issues that she needs to work out, but the fact that she still maintains Brandan's in the wrong, despite this being an issue that Brandan has zero control over, is scary. So what's behind this behaviour? Why is Mary like this?
I know I overreact sometimes with Brandan, but I can't help it. It's very hard for me because my ex cheated on me 10 times and I forgive him 10 times.
Wow, 10 times? Mary, what were you thinking? How the hell did you keep taking this guy back? Like, being cheated on once is bad enough. But after the 5th time or the 6th time, did there not come a point where you said to yourself, this guy isn't going to change. I need to take responsibility for my own actions. Now, talking about taking responsibility, this is the first time that Mary's acknowledged she has a problem. But just like with the cheating, it's one thing to acknowledge the problem, it's another to actually fix it. She says she knows she overreacted, but then she says she can't help it. She's a 23-year-old lady. She should have the ability to understand that her behaviour isn't acceptable. Just saying, I can't help it, isn't an excuse.
Now that Brandan loves me for real and he's almost living here in the Philippines, I'm more scared now to lose him.
Now, these two have repeatedly stated that when Brandan arrives in the Philippines, both of their jealousy issues will just go away. It will disappear. But, surprise, surprise, the closer Brandan gets, the worse Mary's issues are becoming, because now she has more to lose. Even her grandparents have noticed things escalating, and as they sip some coffee on their farm, they raise this with Mary.
Kita kakabatian ko mongga.
Wala na yan. Wala na yan naman yung normal.
Normal lang na.
You can really feel Mary's grandma's concern when she asks, "It's normal?" Like, you can tell that these are humble people. Her grandparents have done their very best to raise her, but they feel out of their depth. Long-distance relationships, 24-hour FaceTime calls, like, this is all totally alien to them. They're really worried about Mary's behaviour. So they want to clarify with Mary exactly what their tradition dictates and what they expect to see once Brandan arrives.
Sa amon na dayon mag-istoryahan ay kung ano ihambal ya sa akon, kaday kung hindi ka na siya.
It's awkward. Oh gosh, it's so awkward. But it must be done. Just look at Mary's poor grandfather. He can't even look her in the eye. This rule, he says to her, isn't just because we're Catholic, it's because we're Filipino. It's part of our culture. Speaking of which, in Filipino culture, it's also totally normal to have to ask permission before you hold hands or even kiss your partner.
Sa mahako sa imo o kung mauyat sa imo kamot, malisensya sa anay sa akon kag kay nanay mo.
It's a matter of respect for them. And Mary's grandparents believe that if Brandan's coming to the Philippines to be with Mary, he should follow these rules. Now, the thing is, Brandan doesn't know about these rules. It's Mary's responsibility to pass on this information to him. to prepare him so he isn't flying in blind. But this is Mary, and unfortunately, Mary always has her own agenda.
I always respect my grandparents, but I don't want to tell Brandan we can't do anything without their permission. I just want to be natural.
Your grandparents literally just said that it's a matter of respect. Despite what she says, it sounds like Mary doesn't really respect them or their wishes. I think if she was more mature, she may have been able to have a conversation with them about compromise. But instead, she plans on just going behind their back and doing what she wants. Just like she does with Brandan when she unplugs her internet and goes to meet her friends. Now, as they make their way to the airport, we're told that Mary's brother is joining them to act as a chaperone. And he has his own opinion on the matter.
You going to hug?
Yeah.
But Grandpa said na hugging is not allowed. If you do that, you broke the tradition of our ancestors.
This is starting to sound like quite a big deal, but Mary says that she wants this moment to be for herself. That's totally fair, that's her choice. But maybe she should give Brandan the same choice. He's flying over there and probably wants to make a good impression on her family. And by not telling him the consequences of hugging and kissing her, she's immediately putting him in a bad position from the off. Now, it comes as a bit of a surprise to learn that Mary's brother actually supports her. And it soon becomes apparent why.
He know what it's like to be against the rules. Because my brother have kids before marriage, my lolo told my brother that he's bring shame to the family.
Ah, okay, it must run in the family. Her brother is also a bit of a rule breaker. But the thing is, we learn that when he broke the rules, it came with consequences. His grandparents refused to speak to him for a few years. That's how strongly they felt that he brought shame on the family. And I think it also explains why this time around, with Mary, her grandparents want a strict adherence to the rules. They don't want history repeating itself. So while Mary's brother is supportive of her choice to hug Brandan, he also doesn't think that she should kiss him. So will Mary take any heed of his advice?
Oh my God.
I love you no matter what, no matter what.
I kind of feel bad for Mary's brother here. She's asked him to film their reunion. So there he is in the background, awkwardly filming as her sister flagrantly disregards her grandparents' rules. Mary's overcome with emotions and she starts bawling her eyes out now that she's in Brandan's arms.
You're so handsome.
I love you.
I love you.
Look, as far as first meetups go on this show, this is pretty cute. But we know the consequences of these actions, and they aren't going to be good. Mary's brother now looks super unhappy with her, and he's probably upset with Brandan too. Problem is, I'm going to go on a limb here and say Mary probably never told her brother that Brandan doesn't know the rules. So while it may look to her brother like Brandan is disrespecting the family, that isn't the truth.
When I finally see Brandan, I'm overwhelmed with the emotions, like butterflies in my stomach.
Mary's brother in the background, wondering if he should intervene in this public display of affection, is definitely one of the most memorable 90 Day Fiance reunion scenes. Look, in a way, I almost applaud Mary's ability to stand up to her family, to make her own choice. That is, if she hadn't already shown us that she lies. She lies repeatedly, just so she can do what she wants with no consequences. And that is exactly what she's doing again now.
I'm happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too, man. I'm especially happy to see your sister.
Our grandma and grandpa are also excited to see you.
My brother's there.
This isn't some kind of stand against controlling grandparents. grandparents. This isn't a stand against conservative Filipino culture. What this is Mary doing what Mary wants to do, not caring who gets hurt in the process. And while it's a bit weird and rude of Brandan to continue to kiss Mary while her brother is talking directly to him, he doesn't fully understand just how disrespectful it is.
Nya, ukwardan ko. Kay wala pa sila ka-ask permission sa amon niya grandpa ka grandma. Kay banta ko gid masakitan gid si Brandan.
Now, with a 3-hour drive ahead of them before they get back home, the pair are in a love bubble of their own. They're completely oblivious to everyone else in the taxi. This is creating a really uncomfortable environment for Mary's brother. Now, it's at this point that we can definitely start focusing on Brandan. He should know better than to make out with a girl in the back seat while her older brother is in the front. Like, let's be honest here. This would be uncomfortable anywhere in the world.
So amazing kissing someone you love.
Kaya kulit ay.
My brother.
Just to add insult to injury, their kissing is so loud. But while all of this is happening, Mary is well aware that she's creating a problem. What if her grandparents find out? Will her brother tell on her? Because his patience is definitely wearing out. He interrupts their kissing to finally educate Brandan.
The kissing, it's not okay for now. You need first to ask permission to give you blessing to do that. Okay, you understand?
Gotcha.
Brandan seems totally confused at first. Her brother explains that he is okay with the kissing, but her grandparents definitely won't be. Before kissing her again, he better ask their permission. Now, Brandan says that he understands. In fact, he even thanks Mary's brother for explaining this to him, for bringing it to his attention. He's very polite. He handles it quite well, and he stops kissing. But when he's alone with the camera crew, his true thoughts are revealed.
Just really absurd to me. Like, I think that I deserve to be able to kiss her without asking for permission. But I guess their culture is a lot different than I was expecting.
Now, for as much as Brandan doesn't like or doesn't agree with it, his response is actually quite mature. He respects their tradition. Had he known sooner, he would have respected it sooner. So, from my perspective, all of the blame here actually lies with Mary. In fact, Brandan's left questioning why Mary didn't warn him.
I just wish that Mary would have told me beforehand so I was more prepared to act right.
We're here now in Cantonese.
Now, remember, Brandan has been sending money over to the Philippines to build a house. This is a house that Mary's grandparents share. They're no doubt going to be keeping a close eye on the pair of them. You can bet they won't be sharing a bedroom. But that does pose an interesting question. If Brandan's expected to make compromises, which he's doing, should Mary's grandparents also be expected to compromise? Like, if Mary's grandparents wanted a man who knew exactly how to act like a Filipino, then they shouldn't have approved of Mary dating an American. But he is paying for the house.
I've been sending money to Mary, basically every single penny that I had saved up to help build this house. I want it to be, like, perfect.
Before he can inspect where all his money has gone, Brandan needs to get the introductions out of the way. Mary has at least taught Brandan the correct way to greet her grandparents and ask for their blessings. But obviously, communication is going to be a problem, which is making this first meeting quite awkward.
And you say the words, mano po, which means, I don't know what it means, actually.
Yeah, Brandan, it probably would have helped if you learnt a few basic words before you decided to relocate to a country. You know, words like please or thank you. But after they stumble through some small talk, Mary's grandpa gets down to business. What did you do when you first saw Mary? He asks. And Mary shamelessly passes that question over to Brandan.
She's asking what we're doing when we first met on the airport.
I really don't know why Mary's just standing there acting like she can't help this situation. Like she can't guide Brandan. The guy's stuttering away. He doesn't know what to say. Should he lie to her grandparents? Should he be honest? What's the correct protocol here? He doesn't want to say something that might get her in trouble or might jeopardize their relationship. But he clearly has no idea what to do. If he lies, will Mary's brother step in and correct them? But if he's honest, will Mary's grandparents find it in their hearts to forgive him?
If my lolo feels disrespected by Brandan now, I don't think he will trust Brandan again.
Mary's put Brandan in this impossible situation. It's starting to feel like she makes a habit of doing that. She wanted their reunion, much like their entire relationship, to feel like a movie. But I wonder whether that footage that her brother recorded might now come back to haunt them.